It's always a good feeling whenever you put something together and it can actually hold your weight. I feel like I'm winning. Stay tuned for how I built this bench. So I'm in the thrift shop and I see the headboard. Do you see it buried? Here's a better look at it. The caning and the shape of this headboard really sparked a lot of creativity in me. So let's get into the materials that I'll be using. Again, I have my drill, my jigsaw, and I'll be using some of these Craftsman accessories. Now, I will also be using this drill bit to pre-drill all of my holes and these wood trim screws. This entire bench is going to be built from scrap wood. I have not purchased anything for this project other than the $10 headboard that I found at the thrift shop. The legs of the bench are simply put together by placing those two pieces of scrap wood as an L shape. I then mark the holes with the blue masking tape in order to pre-drill the holes and then attach the legs. Next, I take another piece of scrap wood and I place it on top to begin to assemble a seat for the bench. I was eager to kind of test this out, but it was pretty obvious that, no girl, don't do it. But I'm gonna move this project inside. Okay, so I have the foundation to the bench here, but now I'm going to mark holes in order to create a center support between the front legs and the back legs. Again, I'm pre-drilling all of the holes to make sure that my screws are able to go in with ease. I'm going to be using these all-purpose wood screws in order to connect those center supports, and I wanted to use longer screws for this portion just to ensure that this was as stable as possible. Now I'm going to finish out the seat, and again I'm trying to make this bench as stable as possible, so I'm adding more pieces of scrap wood to the seat of the bench. I am adding a center support with a front leg and an undercarry support as well for the seat, and I'm also adding a front support to connect the legs on the left, the right, and the center. Now it's time to construct the seat of the bench. This is some leftover foam from whenever I redid the seats in those blue chairs from my master bedroom. And I'm noticing that, okay, this does fall a little bit short, but I'm going to fix that by trimming the side and then adding it to the bottom. Now it's time to create some arms for this bench. I'm going to create the arms using a porch spindle and a square plain porch spindle. So I just measured how tall I felt like the arms needed to be and just cut right below the decorative trim in order to create that arm piece. In my mind, this actually would have just been so much better and easier if I could have gone to somebody's Etsy shop and purchased completed bench handles and simply attached them, but that wasn't the case. It took me a moment to decide whether or not I wanted the square portion at the top or the bottom, And I finally decided to attach square to square and put the square portion at the top. And this is the arm partially attached. I guess it's okay, but we're just gonna roll with it for now because we are. Now it's time to move into painting. Here I have an angled trim brush, and I've said many times before, it's not just your painting skills, it's really all about the brush. So this brush is very smooth, and it's going to allow me to paint this bench without actually having to use any type of painter's tape. Do you see those bristles? Awesome. I've used this brush plenty of times. Okay, let's get into this paint. I don't know if you can tell, but I did sand this bench prior to painting to make sure that the paint had a rough surface to adhere to. And you'll notice here I'm just starting by taking the painting extremely slow, making sure that I am covering the surface, but then I'm also trying to see whether or not the paint is adhering, because I did not sand the varnish layer completely off. I just did pretty much a light sanding in some of the places. You may be wondering exactly what type of paint I'm using. I'm using my favorite Bear, but this time I'm going to just use a color sample. This is from a deep base, but the color is black. So this entire bench was actually painted using just that one paint sample. So let's go ahead and finish this job up. And here's the bench. Now I'm going to be using this flat sheet from Walmart in order to cover the seat of the bench. In addition to covering that green foam, I'm also going to put some foam batting on top of this green foam to ensure that I don't have these rigid corners whenever I do the covering. Now, honestly, if I purchased some foam, I probably would have only chosen like a 1/2 inch thick foam instead of using this 2-inch thick foam. When attaching the sheet to the bench, I'm simply folding the fabric underneath the frame and attaching it with this staple gun. I do have a lot of fabric that is hanging, and I will just simply go back after I have completed this step and use my scissors to trim that fabric away. And here is the finished product. I've moved the bench into my living room, and I think it is beautiful. You can accessorize it in many different ways using many types of pillows. For more inexpensive design inspiration, be sure to spend your weekends with Winnie. Bye!